Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You can turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Are you struggling to lose weight and keep it off? Tired of wasting time and money on starvation diets that lead to more frustration and stress? If there was a weight loss solution that could actually work for you, would you try it? Then head to Golo.com.
I'm Steve. I lost 138 pounds in 9 months on Golo.
I'm Amber. I've lost 128 pounds with Golo.
If you're ready to take back control of your life, head to Golo.com now and see how Golo can work for you. That's Golo.com.
My sleep is way better. My inflammation has gone way down. Golo saved my life. I was way overweight. That's what sent me down the path. I wanted to make sure and live for my kid.
I have literally tried everything. I was on the verge of getting gastric bypass surgery, and I saw the Golo commercial, and it was the last thing I tried because it worked.
Join over 2 million people who found a better way to lose weight with Golo. Your healthier and happier life begins at Golo.com. That's Golo.com. Again, Golo.com.
Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me as always is a man that has a public service announcement. He wants everyone to know that the nudist camps are closed until spring. It's Dale.
Yeah, damn it. They put up the fence, no binoculars.
Yeah.
You ain't gonna catch me on the inside, that's for damn sure.
No, not me either. You know, I've always wondered if you go to a family reunion at a nudist camp, do you take a uncovered dish?
I don't know, as I ain't going. Ain't nobody want to see that.
I mean, these people enjoy that kind of thing. I don't know, man. It's just, it ain't for me, but, you know.
Yeah, well, they can go look at them. I'm all for it. You do what you want.
No nudist camp for me, dude.
No, I'll be at the bar.
No.
With my pants on.
I'm a man of one nudist camp here in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on, dude?
Oh, man, here in the house, man.
Here at the Crack House, doing an episode.
Doing it up.
Yeah, we got one good today for you.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty freaky.
Yeah. Can't wait to get my claws on this one.
Look at you.
Yeah. You got any good shout-outs or anybody you want to talk about before we get going, dude?
Hey.
Oh, man, I love hearing that clap.
How about that?
Bring it on.
That's the first time you like getting the clap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here we have one that's an Apple 5-star.
5-star
Review from a lovely 918. And it says, love you guys. One of my faves. Keep it up forever. Please and thank you with the black heart.
Well, thank you very much.
That's really cool. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to get going with this episode, dude. We're going to Florida on this episode.
Down in the skeeters.
Yeah, Florida
Your
skeeters.
favorite subject.
I hate skeeters. But we're going down below Tampa Bay, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
A little town called Gibsonton, or Gibtown, as the locals call it there. But just a little bit of background on the town of Gibsonton, or Gibtown. This town was once a winter haven for circus performers.
Right.
Or AKA circus freaks.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably not a really great term nowadays, but that's what they call it. And and I know a couple fellers who still perform and do it, and they don't mind the term.
No,
they kind of welcome it. It's kind of pretty cool, really, I think.
And this is also where the International Independent Showmen's Association was stationed.
Right.
Yeah.
And they have a museum there now.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of cool stuff.
Also, Gibtown was one of the few places in the United States where zoning would accommodate these performers to keep circus animals on residential property.
Yeah, that and circus animals, and then other, I guess, like tents and wagons and whatever they needed for their show.
Yeah,
their traveling show. When they packed up their traveling show and brought it home, they could bring it home.
All their travel gear, yeah,
everything.
Yeah,
and it was cool there.
Now, this circus crew and the performers, they lived inside of a mobile home community called Bullfrog Creek. And this area today, there's still some rides, trailers, equipment, and even some unique landmarks that are left behind as reminders of the old days.
Right.
Of those circus freaks.
A lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it was I can't even say it. I don't know if it was Bullfrog Creek back in the day, but it definitely is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Dale, this is also where one of the most bizarre historical murders ever took place.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy.
We're going to talk about it today.
Yeah. And then also a little bit more about Gibtown. They're the only, as far as we know, post office in the United States that has a counter for short people or little people.
Yeah.
Don't take out the short. Has a counter for little people. And that's pretty cool. Because you have all kind of folks, like the bearded lady and the fat lady and the strong man and all those kind of things there. And then another little neat thing I'd like to say, speaking of like the fat ladies, here in Shelby where we are, a lady named Baby Betty, which was Betty Singleton Holdridge. She was a performer that traveled with the fairs back in the 50s. And she came to Shelby once and then performed, and then that night she had a heart attack and passed away. Mm-hmm. And she is buried here in the town. And on her headstone it says, she came to Shelby as a simple fat lady in the fair, and she left this earth as our friend.
Yeah.
And she was like 5 foot tall, a little over 600 pounds, but it was because of a pituitary gland issue. But I thought that was pretty cool that we kind of took her in and kept her in.
Yeah, she's buried over at Sunset Cemetery.
Yeah.
There in Shelby. Yeah.
Yeah, not far from Don Gibson, actually.
No, right. Just right down the area there in the same cemetery. Yeah.
Pretty neat little tidbit. All right, now.
It's very cool.
Back to Florida.
But yeah, we're talking about a guy by the name of Grady Stiles Jr.
Yes.
And he was born on June the 26th of 1937 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And he was born with a deformation due to a genetic condition. It was known as ectrodactyly.
It sounds like a dinosaur, doesn't it?
It really does. And this affliction is deformity to the hands and or feet.
Right.
And is also referred to as split hand/foot malformation.
Yeah.
SHMF.
Good for you. Easier for you to say.
Exactly. And it's not exactly always the case, but in this case, Grady's hands look very similar to lobster claws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like fingers were all fused together, so it's only like two appendages, kind of what it looks like.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
The hand is split way deeper.
Yep. And his legs ended below the knees with malformed feet.
Yeah.
Which led to his sideshow name that he adopted, which was Lobster Boy.
Right.
He was never able to walk, and he always had to be confined to a wheelchair. But Grady was able to maneuver his body with his upper arms and his upper body strength.
Yeah, I'm sure he could jump out of that wheelchair and walk around on his arms when he wanted to.
Yeah.
He was super strong.
But Grady Jr., he wasn't the first of his family to be born with this deformity.
Oh, no.
His heritage included 6 generations of ancestors who were also inflicted with this condition.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, right?
Dating as far back as 1840.
And this defect is really, really rare. It only affects like 1 in 90,000. Unless it's in the family already, and then it's 50-50. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty wild how that works. So it's a 50-50 chance that your children will have this affliction.
After, I guess, if you're reproducing and having kids, it's going to happen. 50-50 chance.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. Other than that, it's 1 in 90,000 that it can happen. So it's really rare unless it's already in the family.
But it dates back in their family back to 1840.
Yeah, 6 generations.
Yeah, including his father, Grady Stiles Sr. And Grady Stiles Sr. was part of a traveling carnival sideshow. And he began including his son, Grady Jr., into their act when he was 7 years old. Speaking
of his dad, Grady Sr. and his wife Edna were raising the 2 kids on a carnival salary, and it wasn't that great back in there because it's pretty much back in the Depression before they would make bigger money later on, Mm-hmm. And a lot of people probably didn't really have money to spend on entertainment anyway back then. They didn't really have money for nothing. Just eating dirt, during the Depression was rough, being the 20s.
Now, Grady Sr., Dale, he had 2 daughters. One of them was named Sarah and the other one was named Margaret.
Right.
Now, Margaret died of a brain hemorrhage while selling tickets to one of her father's shows.
Sad, ain't it?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, but she was normal. She didn't have the condition. But Sarah was born with lobster claw condition.
Okay.
Yeah. And they also had Grady Jr., and they resided in the area of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This was north side, and it was a low-income area at the time. And this area was peppered with tenement housing, and Grady was called a freak and was spit on by mothers who was afraid of his claws and his presence. When
talking about Grady Jr., right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was be his sister's one that passed away, and the other one that had the claws that were in the show.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. I'm trying to keep it straight here.
But
there's a lot of Grady's and stuff going on here.
It is, but Grady Jr., he lacked a strong male role model to show him how to live life and just show him the ropes of life.
Right. You know, and Dad was always working. He's out trying to make that money, especially if they're not making a lot of money. You know, he's got to probably work even more or be gone even more. So, yeah, I understand that. He just, you know, he's got to take all this ridicule and talked about when he's outside of the loop as far as the traveling shows and stuff. He was just in the normal everyday life. I'm sure he was catching it pretty hard.
Yep. And Grady Jr. was even assaulted by his uncle when he was young too.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it says assaulted, but you know, he come out and really was like, he was, I think he'd asked him for a dime or something, and he kind of got pissed off, and he was just grabbing him, throwing him up in the air, being funny, and he dropped him and broke his arm.
Yeah.
So it ain't like he hit him with an axe handle, but same difference.
Still bad enough. Yeah.
He got arrested for it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That was when he was about 7, I think.
Yes. Right before he was getting into the freak show business.
Yeah, right before Dad come home and decided it was time to take him out of school and start making some money.
Yep. But this one they located to Gibsontown, Florida, that we talked about.
Right.
And Grady was part of his father's sideshow, Dale.
Yeah.
Yep. They were traveling around, and Grady Jr. became known as the Lobster Boy.
Yeah.
And
I guess hell, they was all a Lobster Boy at one time, wasn't they?
I would guess, but that's the nickname they gave him.
Yeah.
And he was center stage for the Carnival Freak Show and paid pretty well for the Stiles during this time.
Yeah, things looking up by 1944 or something there.
But consequently, Grady Jr., he had a lot of resentment for this.
Well, he got a lot of hate bottled up yet, you know?
Yeah, I believe so. And this is where he eventually turned to alcohol
whiskey.
as an answer, yeah. I guess to cope and to get past all the ridicule and the harassment he got.
Yeah, the only problem is whiskey didn't like him like he liked it.
No.
Made him very mean.
He got very violent with it. Yep. But Grady was working the freak show and the sideshows and stuff, and this is when he met a lady that was working for the circus.
Yes.
And her name was Mary Teresa Herzog. And she was a normal person. She didn't have any kind of deformities.
Yeah, per se.
Yeah. Like Dale says, we use that word normal very loosely.
Yeah.
But she was considered normal, and she worked with the carnival as a grifter.
Yeah.
And at one time she was working at the carnival, she had a job as a electrified lady.
Yeah, that would come on later, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had a job as the
blade girl.
Yeah, that's when they put them in a box and attempt to saw them in half.
Yeah, and stick the blades through or whatever.
Yeah.
Magic trick kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But she actually had moved away, run away from her family to get out of a situation with, I think her stepfather was abusing her. And she really loved when the fair, the circus, or whatever came to town. And then she finally made up her mind next time it came to town. She just left when they left and went with them. And that's when she got a job. I think first selling tickets, then as a grifter, which is kind of like a barker who's just trying to get people to come in and spend money. And then after that, later on is when they actually found her place and she became the Blade Girl. And after that was when it was Electrified Girl as her own act.
That's right.
So pretty cool.
But yeah, she became smitten with Grady Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. She liked him pretty good.
He did.
And they started dating, and they dated for several years before they got married. I think they dated for 8 or 9 years and lived together before they got married.
Yeah.
But they would sporadically conceive and have kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But 2 of their kids inherited their father's lobster claw deformity, Dale.
Yeah.
And when the kids were old enough, Grady added them to the sideshow.
Mm-hmm.
They became known as the Lobster family.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they also became victims of Grady Jr.'s outrageous assaults.
Yeah, not good.
No, because when he started drinking, he got violent.
Very violent.
Yep.
And him being super strong and with those hands.
But in the mornings was his best times between 8 and 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess he got up and had his breakfast and his coffee, and he was sober, then started drinking.
Yes, it was like Jekyll and Hyde as soon as he started drinking. And then they only got like that, like you say, like 2 hours of relief a day where he was really kind. And then he started drinking and just go downhill from there. And a lot of times ended with him passing out in his own vomit.
Golly.
So he was hardcore.
Yeah, that's not a good look, is it?
No.
But neighbors would later testify to hearing frequent screams from the Stiles home in Gibtown, Florida.
Right.
And it was no secret that Grady Jr. would become intoxicated on alcohol, then physically abuse and mistreat his family pretty regular.
Mm-hmm.
And he would use his upper body strength to violently throw himself on the floor, then use his claw-like pincher's fingers as a dangerous weapon to choke his wife and slam her to the floor.
Well, it'd be like a pair of pliers almost, you know?
Yeah.
So he was, especially as strong as he was.
And his wife's skin and eyes were often targets of the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine, man.
Stuff would easily tear.
Yeah. Grady and Mary got married, and into this relationship, life would start changing early.
Yeah.
And Grady began drinking and staying out all night playing cards.
Right. Well, he was already drinking. He's just doing it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he was drinking whiskey.
Right. Like we said.
And this transformed him from a charming guy to a monster.
Right.
And like we said, he was abusive, choking, slapping, even headbutting at one point.
Man, and at one point, even attempted to or did rip a IUD birth control device from her body during a hell of a fight.
Wow, man.
And that's not good.
Mm-mm.
I actually contacted one of my medical friends the other day and asked them about it, and they said that they can't imagine that. Said it's pretty painful when you do it the correct way. They can't imagine if it was just ripped out, how painful that would be.
Golly.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked because I knew it was not good, but I didn't. It was like very, very, very 3 varies on the painful when even done normally.
On a scale from 1 to 10, it'd be about a 12.
Yeah, 75 something.
But their first child, her name was Margaret, and she only lived 26 days and died from pneumonia.
Mm.
And then the couple had a boy together. His name was David, but he only lived 28 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like the conditions or just
that's what I'm thinking.
Kids or
I guess living on the road, living in a camper.
Yeah, it can't be easy.
Or a tent or something. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's pretty sad.
But it's never been reported that either of these kids were born with this condition.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't know. Yeah, but they were living on the road, living in these rickety circus trailers.
Hard life, man.
It was very hard life.
Especially when daddy's drunk and beating the hell out of you every day.
And him being a full-on alcoholic.
Right.
Now, in 1963, they had their third child.
Right.
And her name was Donna.
Right.
And Donna was born without this condition. She was
so-called normal.
Normal, yeah. And she was pretty pleasing to Grady. She was the apple of his eye. Yeah, and she didn't get the same treatment as everybody else. He was nice to her, and yeah, it was like total different night and day between Donna and the rest of the family.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is. And then they had another child in 1969. Her name was Kathy.
Another girl, yeah.
Yeah, this was the fourth child. But she was born with this deformity.
She was.
As her father, and she would later state that her dad was just always drunk, and they couldn't remember a time from their childhood when he wasn't drinking.
Wow. And that ain't good, because he's Mr. Social Drinker.
Mm-mm. No, he would start up, like I said, get up in the morning after breakfast and start drinking.
You just know you're going to get your ass beat sooner or later.
Golly. Yeah.
Man.
And even one of the later kids even said that if he'd cry, his dad would say, "I'm going to give you something to cry about."
Yeah. Yeah, I probably was told that before, but it probably didn't have the end result.
Yeah, I got told that too, yeah. I think it was more of a warning back in the day.
Back around here, yeah. So, yeah, the girls often recalled having to get up and get ready to go to school or wherever they were going in the mornings. They'd had to get up and step over him because he was passed out on the floors. That's how bad it was.
Wow. But in 1972, as all this, I guess, come to a head, Grady kicked Mary and the kids out of the house. And they had nowhere to go, and she didn't know who to reach out to.
Right.
But she did reach out to a carnival friend of theirs. His name was Harry Glenn Newman. And he was also known as he was a dwarf.
Well, I've heard him billed as the smallest man in the world, but I couldn't never find anything official about that.
But anyway, he was a dwarf, and his name was Harry Glenn Newman. And he was a very kind and sweet person to Mary and considered himself a friend to Grady, but knew deep down that Grady was an alcoholic and abusive to his wife and kids. So Glenn, he arranged for Mary and the kids to stay with one of his relatives in Ohio. While they were in Ohio, the family seemed to live a quiet and normal life for a while. And Glenn had relocated to Ohio, as well as ending up starting a pretty successful tire business there.
I think he was trying to get out of this carnival thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to start him up business, and it was doing well.
Yeah. So Mary and Glenn, they started dating, and Grady filed for divorce and custody of the kids. And she was never served any kind of court summons, so she missed the proceedings altogether. And Grady was granted full custody of the kids.
Well, I'm sure back in those days, if they didn't know where you were, how are you going to get a summons, you know?
Yeah.
So
this was back in the 70s, yeah. So he takes the girls and moves to Pittsburgh in 1974, and he marries a woman by the name of Barbara Browning, and he abused her too.
Right off the bat.
Yeah, and when Barbara found out she was pregnant, he beat her and repeatedly hit her in the stomach to, like, I guess, for her to lose the kid.
That doesn't make sense to me.
No, it don't. He was just a devil, man.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
So while all this is going on with Grady, meanwhile, Mary had married Glenn. And then in 1974, they ended up having a son together named Glenn Jr.
That's right.
So, but anyway, after this happened, you know, Grady pretty much couldn't just let her get away. And in May of 1975, he shows up at Mary's house.
Even though he had took the kids and moved back to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
He showed up at their house.
He couldn't get away from her. So he come up and beat on the door, hollering he was going to kill her. He's going to do this, just raising hell, kind of beating at the door. But she wouldn't go to the door. She was scared.
Making threats.
Yeah, he was hollering he was going to kill her through the door. He never answered. Eventually, he leaves, and then she contacts the cops. And they issued an arrest warrant, but then they couldn't find him. So they never did track him down. So I don't know where he went, but I don't know how. How do
you not be able to find him? I mean, it's not like he would.
I guess he just got in the car and went back to Pennsylvania.
I guess.
And back in, it wasn't easy to track around, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now it'd be easy. But, yeah, so he still ain't over it.
No. Because in 1975, this was Christmas of 1975, Mary was finally able to contact Grady maybe about seeing the kids for the holidays.
Yeah, because he hadn't never let them see them at all.
Mm-mm.
The whole time. He refused to let her see the girls. And so that's when she finally got a hold of him in 75, like you said, to see if they could, you know, finally get to see the girls during the holidays. And this time he agreed.
But on this condition, she was going to have to meet him in a bar for some drinks.
Right. That's exactly
that was the condition. Yeah.
Might as well bring you some boxing gloves.
Yeah. And after some whiskey, they go back to his house.
And guess what?
Yeah.
The girls aren't even there.
Nope.
Right. So as soon as they go in, Grady pulls a gun.
Yeah, this is a ruse just to get her back to his house.
Yep.
Yep.
And then another one of his friends named Paul Fishball, or also known as the Fat Man, steps out of a bedroom and also pulls a gun out.
Yep.
And he's like, basically just tell her he didn't want her to bother him anymore. Don't call me anymore about the girls. I'm going to kill you and your new baby if you keep bothering me.
Wow.
It's like, damn, dude. So he told her, yeah, come on down. You can see the kids. So she goes down, meets him at the bar. They go back to the room, and he's like, yeah, this is all a damn joke. And put a gun in her face and said, you leave me alone and quit trying to contact me. Wow.
He's just crazy. And he was the one that contacted her to come over, meet him at the bar.
One of her beating him. Well, yeah, after she asked.
Yeah.
You know, after, of course, you know, I don't know if that asked after he'd been beating on my door telling me he's going to kill me not long before. I'm sorry I couldn't see my kids, but that'd be, I guess that overcomes.
I guess. But in July of 1976, this was July 26th of 1976, Grady and his new wife, Barbara, they welcome a son, Grady the Third, into the family.
Right.
And like Grady Jr., he also had this lobster claw syndrome.
Yes.
And also has the truncated legs like Grady Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Now, on April 29th, 1978, Donna is counting down the days she can leave.
Yeah.
She wants to tell her father she's going out. She's wanting to go get married.
Yeah, because Donna was the normal one. She didn't have the affliction.
Right.
Yeah, she was wanting to move out and get her own life and everything.
She had met an 18-year-old boy named Jack Lane at school.
That's right.
And even though she was only 15, she was smitten and she was ready to go. I think she's just tired of the beating, probably more of those than she found somebody to love her.
Can you imagine?
If you think about it, you know.
She was just wanting her own life.
Yeah, get the hell away. She didn't want to be no part of that.
But Grady was making threats.
Yeah, he didn't want. He wanted to keep her and keep her under control.
That's all he wanted.
Yeah.
But Donna was living with Jack, and
yeah, she made up a lie to tell Grady that she was pregnant with the baby, in that way, hoping that he would let her marry him and get away.
She has to lie just to be able to get out.
Actually, she was still a virgin, actually. They had just only made out a little bit and stuff, but she just come up with this, and then hopefully Daddy would let her go.
That's right.
Especially her only being 15.
But Grady, he agrees to sign the paperwork for the marriage license. Mm-hmm. And Donna sets the wedding date for September 28th.
Yep.
On September the 20th. And the pair, they apply for their marriage license on the 27th, and the couple had their blood test. And Grady Jr. gives his daughter money to purchase a wedding dress, and Grady spends the evening at a bar.
Ordering about 12 double whiskeys.
Yeah.
So you know this night's going to turn out well.
Yeah, it's not going to turn out well at all.
So anyway, while she's out shopping for a dress, when she returns, Grady pretends his wheelchair has been stolen, so Donna and Kathy, along with some other kids in the neighborhood, go searching looking for the wheelchair.
Yep.
Now, while this is going on, he lures Jack into the house to discuss this marriage and see what he's got going on.
Jack was going over there thinking that he was just going to,
get the blessing.
Yeah, just, say, hey, everybody's good, wish you well.
Right.
But
that ain't what he gets.
No,
No, he gets 2 shotgun blasts, and when she kills him instantly.
He does.
Yeah.
And when Donna returns to the house, Grady is on the porch just smiling.
Yep. I told you I'd kill him, and sure enough, he did.
He murdered Jack.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine?
What the hell?
But Grady is charged with first-degree murder.
Yep. Go ahead.
And his bond is set for $10,000. And he hires an attorney by the name of Anthony DeCello, who was a pretty well-known criminal defense attorney in the Pittsburgh area at the time. And DeCello tells Grady that you're going to have to sober up.
Yeah. Can't be coming in here drunk. So I'm sure he was showing up at the office half-cocked.
Probably.
Yeah. So you got to get your act together. You can't go into court drunk like this. You're going to be in prison.
Yep.
Now, after this, Donna and Kathy manage to get some plane tickets, and they're able to fly back to Texas to reunite with their mother. Glenn Sr. is now working a sideshow there in Texas, and little does Grady know that the daughters are all working with the prosecution trying to send him to prison.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get away from him. I guess that's the only way they can do. So basically, they're coming up, they're going to try and basically prosecution is going to paint him as an evil drunk with premeditated murder of Jack Lane. Really? Come on. What else is it?
That's right.
So Donna's going to be basically the star witness in this thing and see what happens. And basically, the defense is claiming that Jack Lane lunged at Grady and he acted in self-defense. And his character witnesses are, the fat man, the bearded lady, and some other folks like that. But so I'm thinking, this don't make no sense to me. How is he coming there to talk to him and he lunged at you and you just happen to have a shotgun in your hand?
Yeah, just sitting around with a shotgun.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
But Grady's lawyers, they use his physical ailments as a defense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they do. They saying that, he couldn't have done all this because of, his condition.
Yeah. He ain't going to jump on nobody. What's going on? Blah, 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 blah. Nobody's believing that mess.
That's right.
So anyway, they go in there and everything goes on. And by this time, he's already got cirrhosis of the liver. He's got emphysema because he smokes non-filtered Pall Malls, 3 packs a day. So he's smoking 60 cigarettes a day.
That's just one after another, isn't it?
Drinking it's a lot.
Golly.
Yeah, unfiltered Pall Malls. That's the lung busters, man. Old school. So he's doing all this and in there, but basically he's thinking, it don't matter. He's not going to get no prison time anyway, telling the judge that, there ain't no prison nowhere going to be able to do anything with me and with my disabilities.
Not to be able to handle his condition.
Right.
To be able to help him yeah, I get it.
Be able to do whatever they got to do for him.
Yeah. But
they do come back with a guilty verdict.
They do.
Yes, they do.
And the judge sentenced him to 15 years of probation. So basically,
what the hell?
So basically after that, he goes home.
Yeah. So they get him, they have him dead to rights. They convict him and then they don't put him in prison.
Yeah.
He listens to their little spiel about how pitiful he is and nobody can take care of him. So they just give him 15 years.
Sitting there fake crying.
Probation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he just goes home and continues on with his life, drinking and being abusive.
Yeah. He even stiffs his lawyer. He owes his lawyer $14,000, but he don't pay him. He just packs up and goes back to Florida and uses all the money to set up his next run for the sideshow for the next year. So he even dicked his own attorney out of the money to the guy who just saved his ass.
Mm-hmm. But now in the following years, Glenn Sr., this was, Mary's second husband.
Who was the smallest man, midget, whatever he went by.
He once owned that thriving tire business. He suffers a nasty fall, which leaves him critically injured, and he requires constant care, and Mary tries for a while to be the loyal wife, but sometimes it's just
hard to do that, man.
Yeah. They don't have any money coming in, and it's just... tough. She's playing nurse and eventually files for divorce.
Which is pretty sad that, something happens to him and she just bails on him. But
so it's now at this point, Dale, that Mary,
after she leaves,
she realizes that Grady Jr. is the only one that can provide for her, which I don't understand that, man.
No, me neither. It's just like, I guess she's just panicking. She's left. She don't have no money. She don't know what to do. She don't know where to go.
So she goes back to Grady Jr.
She goes back to the Lobster.
And they end up back together.
That blows my mind, man.
And things seem to be going well, and Mary confides in her daughters that she still really loves Grady.
Yeah.
And she cares for him. And
well, maybe he's sober at this point.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe he's trying. I don't know.
Yeah. Putting up a front or something. Just come on back. It'll be different.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
But it's no different.
No.
He starts with the abuse again, and it just escalates, man.
Yeah, it gets worse and worse.
It does.
And I mean, even when she moved in, she brought her son Glenn Jr., of course.
Yep.
And then they have, at this point, it's Kathy, Glenn Jr., and Grady III all living together,
Mm-hmm.
So the different kids of different families, but they're all together down here in Grady's trailer down there in Florida, living in the Gibb town.
So by 1992, Mary had again become exhausted of this abuse from Grady Jr.
Yeah.
And concerned for the welfare of both her and her kids. This was after another altercation. She had made the comment, something's got to be done.
Yeah, they just remarried in 88, so it went downhill real bad. I think probably after they remarried, probably the next year or so, everything just got really bad, and that's when she decided we got to do something about this shit.
And she was talking to her son, Harry Jr., I guess, and gave him $1,500 to take care of things.
Yeah, take care of business.
Yes, that's right. And feeling the need to protect his mom, Harry Jr. used the money to pay a guy by the name of Chris Wyant. He was a 17-year-old neighbor and also a carnival worker to kill Grady.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris didn't hesitate.
No, she had asked a couple other circus guys before, but they just kind of like, yeah, no thanks. And like the guy that was the gorilla guy and some other folks that didn't want no part of that.
But he grabbed his gun and headed to Grady's trailer.
Yeah.
And this is when Chris was staring into the window, and he saw Grady watching TV sitting there in his underwear.
Yeah. He went and rented a movie that night. I think it was Ruby, the Jack Ruby story.
Yeah, sitting there watching it, drinking some iced tea and in his underwear.
But he wasn't drinking iced tea.
No, probably not. But
probably drinking whiskey.
Probably. That's what it looked like, I guess, in the glass.
Yeah.
And they were 2 shots in the head, and Grady Jr. was killed instantly.
Yeah, I think he shot him 4, or there was 4 gunshots.
Yeah, but he shot him 2 in the head.
Yeah.
But Mary and her kids had finally got rid of Grady, and it was also, all 3 were arrested and sentenced for murder.
Yeah.
Chris Wyant was charged with 2nd-degree murder.
That was the guy that hired.
Yeah, he was a 17-year-old that shot him. He was sentenced to 27 years in prison. Harry Glenn Newman Jr., this was the child that Mary had with her second husband, the little midget guy.
Right.
He was charged with 1st-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yeah, I think they tried to do a plea bargain with him. He turned it down and then ended up getting life.
Yeah.
Which it's kind of wild. I mean, he wasn't a trigger man, but he got really the worst punishment.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because it was his idea or something. Guess how you look at it.
But he, like I said, he may have received a reduction in sentence if he had not hired that hitman.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, if he wouldn't have been if he wouldn't have hired a guy, murder would have never happened. So I guess you kind of look at it that way.
Yeah. He was like the catalyst for all that.
The go-between, yeah.
Yeah.
Set up, man.
Now, Mary received little sympathy from the jury about her long history of being violently abused.
Yeah, they tried to use the battered wife syndrome pretty much, even though before it was a thing.
Yeah. What had happened was they had a judge that was on the bench, and this judge was pretty sympathetic to abused women.
Yes.
And something took place, and this judge got pulled off.
Now, what happened is they wanted to have a speedy trial. They put for that. And what happened, it was a conflict of schedules. So when they put in for the speedy trial to get it done quicker,
they got a different judge. And this judge wasn't sympathetic.
He was a hard ass.
So he wasn't sympathetic to abused women or nothing. But Mary received a reduced charge, but was found guilty of conspiracy to commit 1st-degree murder and manslaughter with a firearm, and she was sentenced to 12 years in prison. Now, Grady Jr. was buried at the Showman Cemetery in Gibbtown, Florida, and from research, there was only about 10 people attended his funeral.
Yeah, there were so few people I won't say interested, that came that it was very difficult for him to even find people to volunteer as pallbearers. Like, nobody even wanted to do it.
Nobody liked him.
No, he was that bad of a guy.
Yeah. I mean, I hate it for the family, but, I hate they had to serve prison time.
Yeah.
To be able to have some relief, but dang.
Man, she was out.
Yeah.
She went back.
Yeah, she did go back to him.
Which is, I mean, I don't know. I guess when you get desperate, I don't know.
But one thing we failed to mention, the Harry Newman, the son of Mary, of her second husband, he was part of the act too. He was able to sword swallow and drive nails through his nose into his brain.
Yeah, the human blockhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I've seen the Jim Rose sideshow, and they had a human blockhead as well. He would do that, drive nails into his nose and screwdrivers and stuff like that. It was pretty wild. But
now Grady the Third, he has appeared in modern day freak shows based out of Venice Beach, California, and he's been on the TV show Freak Show, and he recounted his father's murder. And he said, as a person, he didn't care for him.
Right.
He said his dad was racist and abusive. And he also said that what was told in court wasn't exactly what really happened to his son Grady III, and that Grady Jr. and Mary had gotten into another vicious fight when later Mary said something needed to be done that Glenn Jr. overheard.
Oh.
Yeah, and decided to do something about it. It was said that Glenn Jr. really wanted someone to rough up Grady and to scare him.
Oh, so Grady the Third is saying that the story gets a little twisted here.
Yeah.
Wow.
But they just want somebody just to rough him up a little bit.
Something needs to be done because this is awful, and I guess somebody took it a little far.
Yeah. So maybe this Harry Glenn Newman Jr., Mary's son, just decided his mom had enough and he was going to take care of it.
Right. Either that or the guy he hired went a little far.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to take a chance of beating up this guy that's super strong with the claws.
Yeah. Basically going to go in there and rough him up. He's going to rough you up.
Yeah. So he went there and just took him out. Well, they got into argument because they said that the guy that lived in the next trailer over, because they were just side by side, had heard an argument, and somebody said, what the hell are you doing in my house? And kind of stuff. And then, which was kind of odd because they said that, he had snuck up behind him and shot him in the back of the head. But apparently he saw him, or he heard him because he heard some yelling, and he shot him anyway, which is pretty wild.
There's a guy by the name of Fred Rosen. He wrote a book on the case called Lobster Boy, The Bizarre Life and Brutal Death of Grady Stiles Jr., and made a true Hollywood story based on the case titled The Murder of Lobster Boy. And it's been on the A&E network, and also made City Confidential episode based on the case called Gibsonton, The Last Sideshow.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's also a person like Grady going by the name of Lobster Boy that appears in a Deadpool comic.
Now, the people that's in prison, one of them's out, right?
Yes.
Or two, is Mary out too?
Yeah, Mary's out, and she relocated, and her location is unknown.
Right. And then also Chris got out too, right?
Yeah.
That was the trigger man. But Harry Glenn Newman, he died in prison.
That's right.
Yeah. Pretty sad end of that too.
Yeah.
Well, at least Mary and him got out, but I don't know. I think they tried to get all the way out there. That's why they're unknown. They don't want to be no part of this.
I hate it for them, but I believe it could have been another way to get rid of this and get rid of Grady.
They could have got away from him. She was already out, dude.
Yeah, went back to him.
Yeah. Now the kids, I don't know, because they were still there, and he needed them to make money.
Yeah.
So that's the way I assume he was trying to control everything. He didn't want nobody leaving, because then he had no way to make money except for himself.
Yep. All right, dude. That is the story of Grady Stiles Jr., the Lobster Boy.
The Lobster Boy.
Yep. All right, dude. We're going to get out of here.
All right, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is
Crack
House Chronicles.